First, we'll see about the switch expressions, how it can be used as an either statement or an expression, right? This is the old switch case, which will have the different cases, and we will do some operations in that. Let's see what they have extended in the switch now. Um, if you notice the earlier switch case, it will have only one check for each case, but in the update we can have multiple checks for the each case, and we can do some operations for that, like case 1 2 3. In earlier we used to give for each for one case, for two one case, for three one case, right? Now we can combine it into one case and we can write our logic for that. Yeah, let's change the number. Let me change the quarter as well. Yeah, that's it. If we save and run, it should return the second quarter now. Yeah, and also if you see the case, right, it can have the arrow notations instead of the colon in the earlier cases, right? We can use the arrow notations for the new case statements. And also we don't need to mention the break statements like earlier. Yeah, there is no break statements needed for this switch. And next we will see about how the switch can be used to return a value, right? Let's see, consider you have this string and you can have that switch expression to return a value to assign that value to the variable. This is how we can do it. All we have to do is just use the arrow notation and just give the value which we need to return and assign it to the variable. We have to use the default case. One second, and then semicolon at the end. Yeah, default. Let's name it as invalid. Yeah. If you print out the quarter, it should return a second quarter now. Yeah, this is one update. And how can we have a block of expressions in the switch case? Let's see that next. Let me copy that. Now we have seen there are many case checks in the left hand side, right? Now we will see how we can have many operations in the right hand side, I mean in the statement side. To make it, we should make it as a block instead of returning a single value. Let's make it as a block. And do some operations. If you have any business logic to do that, you can do that and return the value at the end based on the business logic if you have any. And also we should use the yield keyword to return the value. This is the new keyword to return a value. Then it will assign to the quarter variable. This is how we use switch expressions in JDK 14. These are the updates from the switch expressions. Next, we will see about the preview features in JDK 14. Let me create a preview for that. I'll just change the package name. There is a feature called record in previews. We'll see that first. This is the preview class. Just name it as a preview. You can name whatever you want. And this is the new feature that which was introduced in Java 14. The record. You should create as a record. And okay, we haven't enabled this feature, so we have to enable in the project level. Let me enable it. Go to properties and go to compiler. If you go to compiler, you can see that to enable it, uncheck these and check that. Yeah, just apply and close. Yeah, now if you try to create a record, it should allow to create a record. Yeah, just name it as a person. This is kind of a Pojo class. We will have the Pojo with the variables getters, setters, toString, hash code, and equals, right, in the Pojo. Instead of that, we can use the record. If it is a immutable data, you should use the records only if it is a immutable data. Just create the record, and now pass a value to that person, new person, name, age, and city Denver. Yeah, and you can just print it. If you print the older Pojo class, right, it will just print the object ID, not the values in that, because they have already overridden the toString to print that values. And also you don't need any getters for that. It will automatically create the function to invoke those values. Just invoke that using those readily available functions like this. In older Pojo class, you should you will be accessing with the getter class, right? Sorry, getter function, right? We don't need that. Also, there is one more update in that we can use the var keyword to assign a record. If you see, this has also the equals, hash code, and toStrings methods like we have in our Pojo class, so we can utilize that. We'll just see about the equals method here. Just compare with the reference person and person1. It should return the false. These are the two references, right? If you compare it with the equals, it should return the true value because the values are equal. Just to show you, these methods are available readily. Yeah, when you run, yeah, false and true. And also, if you want any business logic to be implemented in the persons, right, we can use the constructor and we can write some business logic like this. Just like we can use, if we see the if age is invalid, right, we can just write some logic here. It should be greater than, if it is greater than 100, just throw some runtime exception. Throw new runtime exception. Invalid age. Yeah, if you run it, it should throw an error. No, okay, we have to change this value. Yeah, now it's throwing the error. If you change it to 11, and if you run that, that equals method should return false because the values are false. Yeah, this is one update from the records, I mean preview. These are all the previews. These will may or may not be available in the next releases. That's one key point you have to note. I'll show you that error later on. Second, I'll show you that warning later. Now we will see about the pattern matching. This is another option comes from the previews. Package name is invalid. Okay, pattern matching. Yeah, we just need it. The pattern matching is the new update for the instance of a keyword which we use to compare the type of the object, right? We'll see that in example. Let's see just an integer, a type which holds the value of 10. And in the earlier versions, if you want to compare the type, right, we use the instance of integer. If it is an instance of integer, we'll just check and we will do some business logic out of that. And when you do that, you will have to typecast that to get the value, to match the type, right, to match the object to its type, like integer, and we'll pass that value and just convert. And if you try to print it, oh, okay, sure, it's not accessible outside. Yeah, we should keep it inside. This is how we compare the type, and we will typecast and get the value of that. But this is not a good example. Let me create a proper example for that. 1 second. We'll create a method called accept object, so it should accept that object of any type, right? Yeah. Create the method and change the type to object, so it will accept any type of object, and just bring that logic in this method. So and yeah, now it's fine. Let me create a string to pass in the object. 1 second, just Rio. And pass this object to the accept object method, so we'll have a different methods, right? This okay, let me change it. Now we will check for the instance of integer. So this is how we use the instance of and to check the type of the object, and we will typecast and then we will use that value. This is how we have been doing. Now we will see what has changed in JDK 14. Let me use this string. Just to string. And print that. If you see, for each object, after checking the instance of, we have to typecast and get the value from that. Instead of doing that, what they have done is we can just use a variable in the instance of check to get the value out of that. We can just introduce a variable near to that integer while we are checking the instance of, and directly use that variable. I mean, directly use that value. We don't need the explicit typecasting. The typecasting will be done implicitly. Yeah, this is one feature that has been updated. And okay, if you see, you are using a preview language that may or may not be will be supported in the future releases. This is the same case for records, but ideally it will be there. Even the switch expressions was there in 12. Now it is confirmed in JDK 14, right? So just a key point to note that. Next we will see about the text blocks. There is something called text blocks. Let me copy the code. It is a bit, I don't want to type that. I already have the code for that. Yeah, let me remove that and paste it. Okay, earlier if you see, if you want to use a query or HTML to maintain the spaces and new line or a tab, right, we will be using the /n or /t. But in this new feature, we don't need to do those indentations or the new line explicitly. All we have to enclose it in 3 double quotes, so it will just prevent those indentations. Yeah, like if you see the output, right, it has been prevented. We don't need to mention it explicitly like /n or /t. This is the text blocks feature that was introduced in preview. This is one of the new update. Next we will see about the updates in the JVM level. There are few updates from JVM. The first thing is G1 garbage collector, right? They've introduced the NUMA aware memory allocation for the G1 garbage collector. What is NUMA is num uniform memory allocation. What this does is this processes the GC differently in the multi-core and multiprocessor environment. If you have the multi-core and multiprocessor environment which runs your JVM. At that time, this G1 will process the garbage collector with the NUMA aware memory allocation. Um, to enable that, you have to use this um, JVM argument to process the garbage collector differently in the multi-core and multiprocessor environment. This is to improve the performance of garbage collector on a large machines, right? So this is one update. The next thing is the ZGC, which is this is there in the Java 11 version, but this was introduced only to the Linux machines, not for the Windows and Mac. This was introduced to reduce the pass time of the GC to under 10 milliseconds. So now they have introduced to Mac and Windows OS JDK as well. And the next update from the JVM level is remove this concurrent mark sweep, right? They have removed it, it was deprecated earlier. Now they have completely removed it. If you use the use concurrent mark sweep GC in your JVM argument, you will get the warning saying that the support was removed. So this is one update, and let's see what's the next update. Okay, non-volatile mapping, right? What this update is, non-volatile map byte buffers. What it does is it actually preserves the memory across the machine or application restarts. If your machine or application restarts, all those memory will be deleted from the JVM, but all those memories will be stored in the RAM, and when you restart the application or machine, it will wipe out the memory from the RAM, right? So what this non-volatile map byte buffers does is it uses the hard drive memory to prevent the data. Even when it restarts, it picks up the data from the hard drive memory to that JVM. And that's one update. And JFR event streaming, right? This is one big update. This is Java flight recorder event streaming. Earlier, in the earlier versions, how this JFR working was, we will just turn on the JFR and we will run the applications so that it will capture all those values and put it in a file. So if we once we stop that, and if you want to see those metrics, we can see that later. But now they have implemented to see the metrics in the real time of the JVM, right? All those JVM metrics can be seen in the real time, like an APM or other monitoring tools, right? So if you want, you can check that out. If you haven't used the JFR, you should try that out. That's very good feature. And apart from that, there are some API deprecation and removals. Those are the updates. You can see this the complete update in this page. You can visit this page and you can see deep dive and see the exact changes what they have done in the JDK 14. So that's all for this video. Thank you. We will see in the next video. Thank you.